When you think of the Marx Brothers, it's easy to picture Groucho's razor-sharp wit or Harpo's wild, chaotic energy. But there's a deeper story behind this iconic comedy troupe. Often overshadowed by his more flamboyant siblings, Chico Marx, born Leonard Marx, was the eldest surviving Marx brother, and in many ways the glue that held the group together. While his comedic timing was flawless on stage, Chico's life behind the scenes was a whirlwind of charm, scandal, and complexity. From childhood tragedy to lifelong bad habits, his story is as riveting as it is surprising. Let's take a closer look at the fascinating life of Chico Marx. Born on March 22, 1887, Chico already had a knack for rewriting his own story, even down to the year of his birth. During his lifetime, Chico claimed he was born in 1891, shaving 4 years off his age. This little white lie even fooled contemporary news outlets, which reported that Chico was just 70 when he passed, rather than his actual age of 74. Clearly, Chico was committed to keeping the illusion of youth alive. While fans know Chico as the eldest of the Marx Brothers, that wasn't always true. Chico originally had an older brother named Manfred, the firstborn child of the Marx family. Tragically, Manfred passed away in infancy, leaving Chico to step into the role of the eldest son. This heartbreaking loss may have shaped the dynamics of the Marx household, where Chico was often treated with extra care and affection by his parents. Family accounts suggest that Chico was their favorite child, perhaps as a result of their grief over Manfred. While favoritism might have given Chico an edge, it also set a complicated tone for his relationships with his siblings. Growing up in late 19th century New York City, the Marx family faced significant financial struggles. Life in poverty forced young Chico to adapt, and not always in the most moral ways. From an early age, he became adept at swiping whatever he thought his family needed, or whatever caught his eye. Chico's knack for petty theft might not have been admirable, but it was undeniably effective, helping him navigate the tough streets of Manhattan's Lower East Side. His reputation for taking things, whether they belonged to him or not, was so legendary that even his own family wasn't spared. Groucho Marx often recalled how Chico's sticky fingers extended to their father's tailoring business. Chico didn't just pocket money, he would swipe scissors and other tools essential for their father's trade. Ironically, Chico's behavior likely put additional strain on the family's finances, perpetuating the very cycle that had pushed him into his questionable habits. But Chico didn't stop there. A young Harpo Marx, thrilled to have earned a single dime, decided to hide it in a hole in the wall, hoping to keep it safe from Chico. Harpo told no one, yet by the next morning Chico had somehow discovered the hiding spot, ripped a hole in the wall, and taken the coin. Harpo could only conclude that his brother had a supernatural ability to smell money through wallpaper. Chico's knack for mischief wasn't limited to his family. Growing up on the tough streets of late 19th century New York City, he spent much of his time around pool rooms, rubbing shoulders with street hustlers, gamblers, and other shady characters. By the age of 13, Chico was already immersed in a world of schemes and tricks, befriending people whose influence would have a lasting impact on his life. While these experiences undoubtedly sharpened his wit, they also exposed him to habits that would haunt him for years to come. During his youth, Chico got a job working for a paper company. True to form, he gambled away his paycheck almost immediately. Knowing his father would be furious, Chico decided to turn the situation around with a surprise gift. He brought home a roll of toilet paper from his employer, a rare luxury for the struggling Marx family at the time. While it didn't make up for the lost wages, the unexpected gesture softened the blow and demonstrated Chico's quick thinking, even in the face of trouble. Chico's gambling obsession colored many of his interactions, including his relationship with his younger brother Harpo. One Christmas, Chico discouraged Harpo from hanging a stocking for Santa Claus, citing the odds as being too low for Santa to visit their humble home out of all the houses in the world. However, Chico's position as the favored son caused tension within the Marx household. Their mother, Minnie Marx, was known for doting on Chico, possibly because of the grief she carried from losing her firstborn, Manfred, in infancy. Her favoritism didn't go unnoticed, especially by Groucho, who grew up feeling overshadowed by his older brother. Minnie even nicknamed Groucho the Jealous One, a title that reflected the simmering sibling rivalry between them. While the brothers got along well as adults, the favoritism undoubtedly left its mark on their relationships. Did you know you've probably been saying Chico Marx's name wrong your entire life? While most people pronounce it Chico, like the common Spanish name, the correct pronunciation is actually Chico. Why? Because his nickname wasn't inspired by anything cultural. It came from his infamous obsession with chicks. The name was a playful jab at Chico's well-documented love life, and it stuck, becoming one of the most recognizable stage names in comedy history. But Chico wasn't just the fast-talking comedic genius of the Marx Brothers. He was also a talented musician, earning respect for his skills as a pianist. Fans who've seen his piano-playing scenes in Marx Brothers movies might assume it was all part of the act, but Chico actually worked as a professional pianist for much of his life. However, like many things in Chico's world, his musical talent came with a twist and a little bit of a secret. Chico's piano journey began thanks to his determined mother, Minnie Marx, who was hell-bent on turning her sons into showbiz stars. She enrolled Chico in piano lessons at a young age, but there was a catch. His teacher only knew how to play with one hand. As a result, Chico learned to fake it with the other hand, developing a unique style that would become his signature. While the family's limited budget couldn't afford a better teacher, Chico's natural talent more than made up for it. But the challenges of being a young musician didn't stop there. Chico's younger brother, Harpo, also wanted to learn piano, but with money as tight as it was, paying for 2 sets of lessons was out of the question. The Marx family, always resourceful, came up with a clever workaround. After each of Chico's lessons, he would immediately teach Harpo everything he had just learned. It was a genius solution, 2 piano students for the price of 1. However, there was a small problem with this system. Chico hated taking lessons and had no interest in sticking around for any follow-ups. While Harpo benefited from the lessons Chico begrudgingly passed on, Chico himself never received the full musical education his talent deserved. But despite being well respected for his musical skills, Chico never seemed to take the piano too seriously. True to his carefree nature, he rarely practiced, relying entirely on his raw, natural ability to carry him through performances. His lackadaisical approach didn't stop him from dazzling audiences, but it did cement his reputation as a man who could charm his way through just about anything. Chico's unconventional musical education may have been the key to his signature style. If you've ever watched a video of him playing, the first thing you'll notice is how he shoots the piano keys with his fingers, almost as if he's firing a gun, rather than pressing the keys in the traditional way. This playful, almost comedic method of playing became a hallmark of his performances and added an extra layer of entertainment to every scene. It wasn't just music, it was pure showmanship, blending his comedic genius with his musical talent. What many fans don't realize is that Chico nearly missed out on being part of the Marx Brothers' legendary act. Long before the brothers became a fixture of the vaudeville circuit, Chico had already launched his own career as a traveling musician. His solo showbiz career was well underway by the time his brothers started their family act. But Chico wasn't one to stay in the background for long. Once he joined the group, he made sure to place himself front and center, bringing his larger-than-life personality to the stage. Chico Marx had a knack for stealing the spotlight, and his addition to the Marx Brothers act was no exception. One night, while his brothers performed on stage, Chico decided to sneak into the theater's orchestra pit, pretending to be just another member of the backing band. Hiding his face, he quietly played the piano until one of his brothers recognized him. In true Marx Brothers fashion, chaos ensued. Chico jumped onto the stage, and what had been a carefully planned show turned into an improvised comedy routine. The audience was in hysterics, and Chico had officially made his mark on the act. But Chico wasn't just a scene stealer. He was the brains behind the Marx Brothers' business dealings. Despite his reputation for being reckless and unpredictable, Chico took on the role of the group's leader after their mother, Minnie Marx, retired as their manager. Chico was the one negotiating contracts, landing their movie deals, and keeping the group afloat. His charm and street smarts made him a shrewd negotiator, ensuring that the Marx Brothers stayed at the top of their game both on and off the stage. One of Chico's most recognizable trademarks was his exaggerated Italian accent, an essential part of his on-screen persona. But what many people don't realize is that the voice wasn't created for comedy. It came from necessity. Growing up in the diverse melting pot of New York City, Chico quickly learned to imitate the accents of the different ethnic groups around him. It was a survival tactic, helping him fit in wherever he went. Later, this skill became the foundation of his character, adding a distinct flavor to the Marx Brothers films that audiences loved. Chico's love of the spotlight wasn't limited to the stage or screen. It extended to his personal life, too. Known for his relentless pursuit of women, Chico's boldness knew no bounds. At one party, he crossed paths with old Hollywood star Tallulah Bankhead, a larger-than-life personality, who also happened to be the daughter of a congressman. Chico, never one to mince words, walked right up to her in front of everyone and declared, "I want to sleep with you." Remarkably, this direct approach worked. Bankhead, with her signature wit, replied, "And so you shall, you old-fashioned boy." Alongside his infamous gambling addiction, Chico was equally well known for his relentless pursuit of women. In 1917, he became the first Marx brother to marry, tying the knot with Betty Karp. But even marital vows couldn't rein in his compulsive behavior. According to some accounts, Chico's unfaithfulness began as early as their honeymoon, setting the tone for a marriage plagued by infidelity. Over time, his tactics for meeting women only became more brazen and occasionally downright shameless. Chico had an uncanny ability to turn almost any situation into an opportunity for romantic escapades. When the Marx Brothers were on tour, Chico often headed straight for the hotel lobby. There he would sit at the piano and begin playing, drawing in curious onlookers, particularly women. More often than not, this impromptu performance would lead to exactly the kind of encounter he was seeking. On the rare occasion that his piano playing didn't do the trick, Chico wasn't above resorting to more direct and sometimes rude methods to get what he wanted. Amid Chico's constant affairs, his wife Betty Karp displayed remarkable patience. The couple had one child, a daughter named Maxine, born just a year after their wedding. Many who knew Betty described her as an endlessly forgiving woman who worked tirelessly to keep their marriage intact despite Chico's chronic infidelity. It's likely her willingness to turn a blind eye to his behavior is the only reason their tumultuous marriage lasted as long as it did, an impressive 30 years. But infidelity wasn't the only strain on their relationship. Betty, who had a conservative and puritanical personality, clashed with Chico over his career in show business. She had first met Chico as a teenage fan, but as his wife, she disapproved of his profession and the chaotic lifestyle that came with it. Her concerns extended to their daughter, Maxine, whom she wanted to shield from the world of entertainment. However, the Marx Brothers had other ideas. They often brought the adorable Maxine on stage during performances, using her for quick applause and cheers from the audience. After his marriage to Betty Karp ended in 1942, Chico continued his whirlwind lifestyle of short-term affairs. But one relationship stood out, his ongoing romance with a woman named Mary DeVitas, better known as Mary D. It wasn't until nearly 20 years later, just 3 years before Chico's passing, that the two finally tied the knot. The strangest part? Chico reportedly liked Mary because she resembled Betty, the very woman he left for her. Their relationship added yet another layer of complexity to Chico's already chaotic love life. This same lack of commitment extended to Chico's professional life. While his comedic genius on stage and screen was undeniable, his dedication to the craft often wavered. He had a reputation for showing up late, unprepared, or even skipping rehearsals entirely. His brothers were often left scrambling to cover for him, and there were times when Chico would step on stage and completely forget his lines. Despite this, his charm and improvisational skills usually saved the day, but not without causing a fair share of frustration behind the scenes. One particularly memorable moment came during the filming of A Day at the Races in 1937. In one scene, Chico performs a lively piano piece that includes a surprise flute solo. His reaction on screen, where he jumped slightly in surprise, wasn't scripted. It was completely genuine. According to his nephew, Chico hadn't rehearsed the piece before filming and had no idea the flute solo was part of the arrangement. Even when unprepared, Chico's raw talent and quick thinking turned the moment into comedy gold. During the production of A Day at the Races, Chico discovered that a real-life horse shared a name with one from the film. Unable to resist the lure of a bet, Chico placed money on the horse. Unsurprisingly, Chico's gambling addiction wreaked havoc on his finances. By the early 1940s, despite enjoying the peak of the Marx Brothers' success throughout the previous decade, Chico found himself in dire straits. His spending and gambling habits had spiraled so far out of control that he declared personal bankruptcy. For a man who had been part of one of the most successful comedy teams in history, this was a shocking and sobering fall from grace. After their 1941 film The Big Store, the Marx Brothers had planned to retire from Hollywood. They even marketed the movie as their official farewell to the silver screen. However, when Chico's gambling debts mounted to unmanageable levels, the brothers stepped up to help. In 1946, they reunited to make A Night in Casablanca, a film created almost entirely to rescue Chico's bank account. While the movie ended up being a success, earning praise from fans, it also served as a testament to the brothers' loyalty to one another, even when Chico's habits brought chaos into their lives. Chico's gambling didn't just affect his finances, it also pushed him to explore other avenues in his career. When the Marx Brothers began to slow down as a group, Chico embarked on a new venture as the leader of his own big band, known as the Chico Marx Orchestra. The group found moderate success during its time, but its most notable contribution to the music world was introducing a 17-year-old Mel Torme, who would go on to become one of the most celebrated jazz singers of the 20th century. Chico Marx's life was filled with moments that seemed almost too extraordinary to believe, blending humor, mischief, and just a dash of danger. One night backstage, Groucho decided to test Chico's legendary memory. Briefly holding up a dollar bill, he challenged Chico to recite the entire serial number from memory after just a glance. To everyone's amazement, Chico nailed it, but in true Chico fashion, He walked out on stage immediately afterward and completely forgot his lines. Off stage, Chico's knack for impersonation became one of his more unconventional talents. While Chico and Harpo were easily distinguishable in their on-screen personas, in real life their resemblance was striking, so much so that people often mistook one for the other. Chico, never one to miss an opportunity, used this to his advantage. He impersonated Harpo on more than one occasion, sometimes for harmless fun, and sometimes to dodge accountability. Unfortunately, this sometimes backfired, tarnishing Harpo's reputation in places where Chico had caused trouble. Years later, Chico took his impersonation skills to the next level by appearing as Harpo in a live television performance. Not only did the audience not notice, but even their brother Groucho was fooled by the act. But Chico's life wasn't just filled with comedy. It also had moments of intrigue that could have been pulled straight from a noir film. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations came when officers discovered a check signed by Chico Marx in the pocket of none other than Bugsy Siegel, the notorious gangster credited with building Las Vegas's first casinos. The circumstances surrounding the check remain a mystery to this day, leaving many to wonder what business Chico had with such a dangerous figure. Groucho, reflecting on the incident, was relieved that Bugsy's untimely demise may have saved Chico from a far worse fate. Knowing his brother's financial habits, Groucho speculated that the check in question would almost certainly have bounced. If Bugsy had lived long enough to find this out, mob-style retribution might have followed, and Chico's comedic charm wouldn't have been enough to save him. Despite spending a lifetime gambling, you'd think Chico would have mastered card games by the time he appeared on a televised championship bridge contest in 1961. Yet his performance was, to put it mildly, disastrous. Chico lost badly. When asked how much money he had lost to gambling over the years, Chico gave a response as sharp as it was tragic. Ask Harpo how much money he has. That's how much I've lost. As Chico aged, his addiction spiraled further out of control. His brothers, realizing the severity of the situation, stepped in to take charge of his finances. By pooling their efforts, they managed all of Chico's money in his final years, allowing him access only to a fixed monthly allowance. While this arrangement may have felt restrictive, it was a necessary step to prevent Chico from gambling away everything he had left. The Marx family's intervention was a testament to the bond between the brothers, even in the face of Chico's lifelong struggles. For much of his life, Chico approached his vices with a carefree attitude, never apologizing for his behavior or making excuses. But in his final days, the walls came down. During a long phone call with his daughter Maxine, he apologized to her for the stress and financial difficulties his gambling had caused their family during her childhood. Through tears, she told her father, "I wouldn't have traded having you for a father for all the money in the world." On October 11th, 1961, Chico became the first of the Marx Brothers to pass away, leaving his family and friends to gather in mourning. But what should have been a heartfelt farewell quickly took a bizarre turn. In the middle of the service, a man whom no one recognized stood up to deliver a eulogy. His words were so inaccurate that they left everyone stunned. Harpo, always quick with a quip, leaned over to Chico's daughter Maxine and whispered, "When I go, do me a favor and hire a mime." Even in the face of confusion, the Marx family found a way to keep humor alive. Despite Chico's undeniable contributions to comedy and the Marx Brothers' legacy, history hasn't always been kind to him. While he was one of the three core members of the group and a driving force behind their success, modern audiences often underestimate his role. In an online fan poll conducted by Turner Classic Movies, Chico shockingly came in last when fans were asked to rank the funniest Marx brother. Even more surprising, he finished behind Zeppo, a brother who only appeared in the early films playing minor, non-comedic roles. For a man whose quick wit and musical talents helped shape the Marx Brothers' unique style, the ranking feels like an unfair legacy for someone so integral to their success. Chico Marx may not always be the first Marx brother to come to mind, but his impact on the group and his unique personality are undeniable. From his incredible musical talent to his daring behind-the-scenes leadership, Chico's life was as dynamic as the humor he brought to the screen. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Chico Marx. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which Marx brother or classic Hollywood legend you'd like to see us explore next. Until next time,